Hi, everyone. I'm finally live. I'm sorry if you were waiting for me. I appreciate you. It is a little late, but I was having, once again, technical difficulties. But hi, I'm Michelle Crawford. I am a certified cannabis health coach and educator. I don't have my Love Loaf apron on today. I have my Love Leaf apron on today. But if you're here for Get Baked with Michelle, you're in the right place. Okay, so hi. Welcome to Get Baked with Michelle. This is my first baking class. The format for Let's Get Baked with Michelle is going to be this way. At the beginning of the month, for every month 2026, I'm going to be going live right here on YouTube to share with you like a baking lesson and discussion. I'm going to do a live demo of some freshly milled, diverse whole grains, yeast bread. We're going to use the grain mill over there and the Zojirushi bread machine in an effort to replace the toxic ultra-processed food, number one food that we eat, bread, because of the flour. So if you're with me to replace the ultra-processed sandwich bread in your life, these two machines are your power couple, and I cannot wait to show them to you. So how it's going to work is I'm going to go live at the beginning of every month, hopefully the first Friday of every month. Sorry, it didn't happen this January the 2nd because I wasn't ready. But with, like I said, the live demo, the discussion, and that will live here on YouTube for your watching convenience all month long. And if you want to join me for a private Zoom with the community of the Let's Get Baked with Michelle Club, you need to buy the Love Loaf Apron, which I hope is linked below. Probably not, because I don't know. But at repyourstateofmind.com, find the Love Loaf Apron, buy it, and you're in the club. You can join us every month at the end of the month, the final Friday at noon on Zoom. Those dates might be TBA. If the crowd that I gather around me wants a different date, I'm very amenable. But basically, we're going to go live here on YouTube, do the demo, and do the discussion, and then at the end of the month, gather together privately on Zoom for a sesh, where we're going to talk about our bakes, how it's going in the grain world, how it's going with your bread machine. If you have any questions, live Q&A. You can look forward every month to learning more about how to make yeast bread baking part of your life. What my goal is to help you and me become home bakers that are eating healthy and providing healthy food to our families that we feel we can trust. Because I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I can trust the food in the grocery store much anymore, unfortunately. And I'm sorry to say that. So a part of joining me for Let's Get Baked with Michelle is going to be about baking as a lifestyle medicine, which is something that I've learned from my mentor, Dr. Vanessa Kimball of the Sourdough School, whose retreat in Tuscany I attended last September. So Dr. Vanessa Kimball is a PhD in nutrigenetics, which is nutrition and genetics. And she especially talks about how sourdough bread, long fermentation, sourdough starters as a leavening, and diversity in whole grain eating is beneficial to your mental health, your physical health, and can help you heal your body of diseases. Your body, when it's running well, when it's healed, when it's healing itself, it's very capable. As a cannabis health coach and educator, I teach about the endocannabinoid system, which is a part of our bodies that was discovered in the 1900s, 1990s. What? And it's the part of our body that regulates all the other parts of our body. When it's happy and doing its job and has everything it needs, guess what? Your body's running like a well-oiled machine. But when it's not, that's when you have health issues in a lot of ways. So how does cannabis medicine help with so many diverse things, like mental health, physical health, movement, optimizing people for athletics, things like that, mood, sleep, eating? Well, because you're a complex system that has the endocannabinoid system as a regulator, and that system, when it's working, helps all your other systems work better and can heal you. Our natural state is healed and healthy, everyone, right? Isn't that amazing? Even if we have problems. How is this related to bread? Well, the truth is our digestive system is called our second brain. It's the enteric system. And if you are in touch with the second brain, intuitive about your eating, if your gut is healthy, if your and what consists your gut, the microbiome inside. We are more and more ever increasingly aware of the importance of the diversity of our gut microbiome, which is to say all the bacteria and things that support our health by living in our intestinal tract. These are so important and they love fiber. So if you are trying to fiber max, a trendy new word, to support your health, you're in the right place. Nothing is more fiber maxing than whole grains. Here, look. See these whole grains? Wow, that's a knot. You know how much fiber that is? So much. Okay. So fiber and diversity of whole grains is something that supports your gut health, your microbiome, which is like, 50% of our body, of our genetic diversity is in the microbiome. I want to also explain that there are some handouts down in the description below. Sorry, little brain fog moment. I made some handouts, class handouts, one for the live demo that we're about to do with the Zojirushi machine and the mock mill, where I demonstrate grinding grains and making my basic bread recipe in the machine. What's so great about that is that you end up with a loaf of bread at the end that you had only like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of work to do for it. Pretty cool. The other handout is about what we'll have in the discussion time, which is so there's the live demo of milling and baking, and then we will do the video, the Transform Your Kitchen and the World Start Baking with a Bread Machine, where I go in depth about everything that we're using, why it matters, and a little bit about how to equip your kitchen. When I teach my cannabis health course, which is called Homemade Health, it helps women and men become kitchen witches, where we magically make healing medicine in our very own kitchens. We start with creating a space for our gear and sorting out our can of pantry. So we'll get into that after the live demo, because you have to do the same thing for this bread. And I want you to be a success. In all of my teaching, most of my motto is make, take, share. And I'm always trying to advocate or trying to help my students to actually do the thing. In cannabis, medicine making, it just seemed like it was such a hard bridge to cross over for people to transform from someone who makes their own cannabis stuff at home and, is facile with that, to being someone who is a kitchen witch who can make their own medicine. And so when you put your apron on, the transformation of you into a baker, I think, is going to be awesome and complete. My teacher, Vanessa Kimball, says that once you put your apron on, you turn into a baker. No further qualifications needed. So when I turn people into kitchen witches, the thing that does it is getting them to actually make medicine. So I try to make it as easy as possible with magical machines. In kitchen witching, for cannabis medicine, it's the Arden FX and the Source Turbo from Extractcraft. And that is an amazing thing. Here in bread baking, the magical machines are your grain mill. We'll talk about grain mills after the live demo, and your bread machine. And it's so funny how much overlap there is in these two things. That's right. Alex is in the chat. Hey, nice to see you there, Alex. And she is a strong kitchen witch. I would say her powers are super strong. And she's also a baker, right? So she's really transformed. All right, everyone. I've given myself like 3 hours to do this, so there's no rush. But as it's the first time, and I'm like, how prepared am I? I don't know. I decided to do a special trick to start us off. And did you hear that beeping just now? Okay, the special trick to start us off is that I baked a loaf of bread really fast in the Zojirushi for the purpose of having the ability to show you how I remove it from the machine. I think that this will be useful. Let's get a light on. Anyway, I had to go to the bathroom right beforehand. So, okay, I want to take you with me. I haven't looked at the loaf at all. Let's have a look. Oh my God, a loaf of bread. Okay. So this is the Sojirushi bread machine. It is the Virtuoso model. What's special about the Virtuoso model is that it is the top of the line. It has an additional heating element up here in the lid. What's great about that is that it heats the top of the, don't touch it, I burned myself so bad. It bakes inside the machine. It has a heating element in the top and on the bottom, which helps the crust get even on the top. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my cooling rack. I have a friend and a neighbor down the street who didn't have any cooling racks. So I was like, those are useful. You kind of need cooling racks. I think they're very handy. And I'm gonna grab my oven mitts. I really like these kinds of oven mitts that cover your whole, this is the one you can usually find in the grocery store, the UGG glove. Here in America, the UGG glove, this is a good one. But Redtopia sells some Kevlar versions of this. You can buy them there. I like this kind of glove. It gives me as use of my fingers, and at the same time protects my whole entire hand. Because look, don't think that thing can't burn you. That is from this. All right, it's important when the bread is baked to get it out right away. So here we are talking, let's get the bread out. You have to, okay, I wanted to show you this because I wanted to show you specifically how to get this thing out. Don't do this. The bucket needs to be tilted, and then you can grab it and pull it out. And when you put it in, you need to see, if you put it in like this, it's not really in, it's all loose. It needs to be pressed down. Hear that? See that? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. T-Pain. I'm a big T-Pain fan. Okay, here we go. There's the bread. Okay, here's something really interesting to know about this bread. It comes out of the chute so easy. You see that? These are the double paddles inside. I'm gonna leave it over here to rest. I'm gonna grab the loaf, flip it upside down. This is not the cutest loaf of bread I've ever baked, not even by far. But you know what? This is the fastest loaf of bread I've ever baked in the Sojirushi. I milled this an hour and 30 minutes ago, programmed my machine to knead it for 25 minutes, rest for 5 minutes, and then I said bake for 50. Why? Because in getting ready for this getting started video, like part of the series, I was watching Sue Becker. Sue Becker is the American icon of freshly milled flour or home ground flour. Sue Becker of Bread Beckers. She's a deeply religious Christian with 9 children with her husband Brad from Georgia. And they have a store out there where you can buy a Sojirushi machine, a mock mill, and any number of grain mills and grains in Georgia. She also authored this book, which will definitely be in your resources list, which I'll be making for us later today and putting out there with those class handouts. The Essential Home Ground Flour book is my freshly milled flour, like one of my Bibles for sure. It's, what a joke, because she is, I don't need to joke around because she is Christian, but Sue Becker's video series on YouTube, Getting Started. It's a 3-hour live class from the Bread Beckers kitchen studio, which you can attend live in Georgia. They have a whole kitchen studio where they teach bread and other cooking classes. Starts off with her making the flour and the bread dough in the bread machine and then transferring it over into the oven without rising to rise in the oven while it's baking the first time in a bread cloche. It's a rad trick. It is the fastest and most exciting kind of way to bake a loaf of bread, the quickest you've ever seen. And I thought it would be awesome to start off the live demo with showing you how to remove the bread from the bucket, because we might not get there in this class, because normally a bread cycle with a rise will take at least 20 more minutes or 30 than that. So most of the time we bake bread with at least 1 rise, if not 2. So you can cut down on the number of rises. You can bake a kind of, rough loaf of bread, but look, it's baked. It's ready to eat. Let's cut it open. Why not? Well, one reason why not is that it's piping hot, okay? Like this is gonna be a super hot bread. But let's just go ahead and cut it open anyway. Let's see, because I've never made a loaf of bread this fast either. Looking good, not looking bad. Just came out of the machine. You're gonna see it when I do. Look at that. Okay, it looks a little bit, tiny bit gummy. Or kind of wet in there. No, it smells amazing. Let's see how a slice does. And this might need to be toast, but look, you make bread. Da-da-da. Could be not bread. Here we go. Oh, it broke. So hot. Tasty. Not the best loaf of bread I've ever made, but not the worst. All right, so all of you got to see the machine taking a loaf out, which is to say, grab the machine, use mitts. This is so hot. Put it upside down, catch your loaf underneath. Rewind that if you want to stick it in again, and then put it here on this thing, on your cooling rack, which I will definitely put on your resources list of things you should have when you're doing bread making. Okay, let's put this aside. You know, it tastes great. It tastes really good. I wouldn't say the crumb is award-winning, but nobody can say that this isn't a loaf of baked bread. All right. That was fun, wasn't it? I'm going to take these off. I'm a little worried because the machine does need to cool down a tiny bit. So we're going to do one other thing before we actually make the loaf in the live demo, which is so funny because I was planning on doing the live demo like right now so fast. But here's something that people need to know. How easy is it to clean up? Maybe I should put it in my face there. Gosh, you guys, this is the easiest thing to clean up ever. If it wasn't so hot, you know. The 2 paddles down there, they're the most important thing. Don't lose the 2 paddles. They are important, but it is non-stick, the bucket of all the Zojirushi bread making machines. And it's so simple to clean. I almost feel like, here's a disgusting lazy girl thing to say. I almost feel like not cleaning it because it doesn't even look dirty. But it's not true. You should clean it. So let's clean it and give the Zojirushi machine itself a little bit of time to cool down after baking. One thing that will happen is it will say hot. If you just baked a loaf and then you want to bake a new loaf right away, the machine sometimes will refuse and say hot. So if we tried right now, it would probably be too hot. Let's have a look at what's hot. So see that baking, that heating ring down there? Yeah, it's really hot in there. It's like 350, 400 degrees. It needs to cool down. And then it also has one underneath here in the lid, which none of the other Zojirushi machines have. Just the Virtuoso Plus. Okay? All right, I'm gonna wash the dish. It's so easy. Let's wash it. Hot. A little bit of soap. Literally, it doesn't present as dirty, so you almost don't want to wash it. But this is how easy it is. When I was teaching homemade health, it was crazy to me how much, sometimes these can be a little bit hard to get off. Occasionally there'll be baked stuff inside, but if they are just this easy to clean, the paddles. The biggest thing about the paddles is they are unique to every single Zojirushi model, so don't lose them. You can always reorder them if they're still in stock. If you have an older machine, it's questionable whether or not your paddles will still be in stock. But that is probably the dirtiest place that you'll get in the machine, is just right around those pegs at the bottom. So I'm gonna just wash in there and rinse one more time, and that's pretty much it. I'm honestly doing a better job than I normally do, for your benefit, probably. It's that easy. It's clean again. It's ready. How to put the paddles on. I used to think, because there's an internet rumor that arranging the paddles in in a parallel to each other motion, like this, would lead to your zojirushi loaf being more even on top. But I have been told in further research that that is not true, that like making the paddles parallel doesn't have any effect on the evenness of the finished loaf. But hey, if we form a big enough community, we can do some studies and figure out if that's really true or not. Okay, you have two options when it comes to making your bread in here. It's a good thing that we have to mill so that we can give the bread machine a little bit more time to cool down. All right, let's start talking about the live demo. Let's do kitchen. Let's do it. Okay, I want to introduce you to my machine here. This is my Mock Mill Professional 200. This is a top of the line grain mill. I didn't used to have a top of the line grain mill. I had their introductory one, the Mock Mill 100, and it's in bioplastic housing that it has. Grain mills are awesome and they come in various kinds. I'll talk more about that in the discussion after the demo. So this is my grain mill. There are many like it, but this one is mine. All right, it has a hopper on top. I removed this lid. Let me just show you what's inside the hopper. It's just like a little, hopper. And let's see. I usually use like these two type of bowls. I know because of Alex that the amount of flour will fit in here, funnily enough. Okay. Let's talk about wheat. So hard red wheat is the #1 wheat that we need. The advice that you'll get is to make your breads out of hard wheat, hard red and hard white. Wheat berries in America and across the world are grown, and they are differentiated as being hard or soft. This is hard red wheat and white wheat mixed together. I have about 6 varieties of hard red and white wheat mixed in this container. Why? Because for me, I'm looking for diversity. Why do I want diversity? Well, I'm hoping to get this across in this entire series. The diversity of the number of plants that you eat and their fibers is what feeds your gut microbiome. I'm always touching my tummy. And you guys are like, what are you doing? I'm touching my tummy. Your microbiome is fed by the diversity of botanicals that you eat. So I'm going to talk more about this later. Hard red and white wheat is the basis of your bread making for the most part. We need 4.5 cups of flour to make a loaf of bread in the 2-pound zojirushi pan. This is a 2-pound pan. Let me show you a 1-pound pan. If you ever wanted to make just dough in your machine and then bake your breads in the oven, you would need 2 1-pound loaf pans. I will put these in your, not these, well these, but also another one in your resources page. These are my favorites by USA Pan. They have a silicone, an amazing silicone coating that makes your bread slip right out. So for this pan, we need 4.5 cups of flour, which is also about 500 grams if you're going to weigh. If you're going to measure with volume measurements, it's 3.5 cups of grains. Or 3 cups of grains, sorry, 3 cups of grains. You guys, okay, that's 1 cup, because this is a half cup measure. That came with this flour keeper. Plastic, but nice plastic. I keep my grains here, for the most part. What to do when you can't remember how much you did? Start over. I think it was 1 cup though. 1.5. So I need 6, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God, we're just gonna make it 5. Whoop, 6. Hopefully that makes it. I am out, you guys. I am out. Terrible. I have other grains too. Don't worry. Probably I will make a video of reordering. This 3 cups of whole grains, whatever grains you choose, typically will make 4.5 cups of milled flour, which is what we're looking for. when you use weight or scale to scale things, not only is it neater and cleaner, but you don't think about what it is. You don't think about how many cups of grain equals how many cups of flour. But in general, 3 cups equals 4.5. Alex knows this. 2/3 cup of grains equals 1 cup of milk flour. All right? I know. It's going to be a lot. Let's just make our first loaf, for God's sake. I need to turn on my machine before I start. Oh my gosh. Before I get into this, I have to add another ingredient, which is my meadow blend. Okay, I'm going to have to talk about this for a second. What is the meadow blend? The meadow blend is exciting and different. The meadow blend is a bunch of botanical flowers, seeds, peas, legumes, including also of hemp, cannabis flowers, mallow flowers, nettles. Many botanicals are in here, about 20. The recipe for it is in this book, Vanessa Kimball's The Sourdough Sweet Baking Book. It's her #2 meadow blend. So we'll go over that later, but I add a tablespoon of this to my to-be milled grain and put it through my machine, which isn't necessarily recommended by the machine, and occasionally will kind of cause it to stop a little bit because the flours are just so light. But in the main, it works, and if it doesn't, all we do is take a pen and kind of shut it down. Don't tell Mom no. Okay, this is going to be a little bit loud. I'm going to go ahead and mill my grains and show you about it. Oh, when you get a mock mill, or if you get any kind of mill that's a stone mill, the general instructions are to turn it so that you can hear the stones clicking against each other, and then one away from that. So don't make it click really hard. You hear that? That's the grindstones clicking together, and you move it just a little bit. Mine adjusts here on the hopper. I'm on like 1 basically. Okay, let's mill. Watch. Took very little time. Okay, so that's freshly milling your own flour for you using the Mock Mill Professional 200. The advantage of it is continuous milling. If any of you are considering being a cottage food handler, a cottage food maker, like baking in your own home kitchen, breads to sell, if any of you are considering that, I would consider a more professional model of grain mill, so that because this one has the ability to run continuously. Anyway, I'm not considering that. I literally am just trying to bake for myself and my family. I'm not trying to be a cottage food handler or open a micro bakery, okay? But if you are and you're watching me, go for the better meal, because that will probably support you better. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the flour here. This flour is slightly warm. It is very fine, but still has a little bit of like texture to it. It's stone ground. There are stones in there. You saw it come flying out. What's it smell like? It's a really nice smell. It's delicious. You can kind of smell the warmth. Let me see how warm it is. People sometimes care about warmth. They're like, does it degrade your flour? Not too much. Let's see. 77, 80, 90, 91, 96, 97, 98. I mean, that's like body temperature, guys. I don't care. 100. I'm stirring it with the things. Just registering 101. That like to me, that's not a big deal. It's not like taking the nutrients. But it is warm, and impact mills, which is another kind of mill we'll talk about during discussion time, they might be cooler. All right, how to add ingredients to the Zoji Rushi machine bucket. This bucket is our magical carpet to a freshly milled, freshly baked loaf of bread with no more effort. Like, for example, you guys, this loaf of bread was baking in the machine while I was giving the live intro and everything, right? And it goes beep, beep, beep. And then we got, our not too pretty, hey, but nutritious loaf of bread. Who cares about pretty? I literally have it in the handout. No, we don't care about pretty. We do care about knowing how to load the bread machine. So the Zoji Rushi, I got notes. The Zoji Rushi bread bucket is 2 pounds, 2-pound loaf, which I just explained. And it loads in a particular order. We want to load our liquid ingredients first and our dry ingredients on top of the liquid ingredients. So here's the order. It's actually this order. We are going to make something for you because I have this right here. I'm just going to put this down. This is the order. Water first. The ingredients are oil. You can use any oil you like. Honey. These 2 are optional in a way. You can mess with this if you want. Salt. 1 egg is completely optional. Lecithin is also optional. 2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon of vital wheat gluten. If you are not somebody who's concerned about eating gluten, this gluten will help your loaf rise and have the structure that you like and be fluffier. 4.5 cups of freshly milled flour, 4 to 4.5, possibly 1/2 cup of flax seeds ground in a blender. I have my flax seeds here. Actually, it's a flax chia hemp mix that I sometimes will add to my loaves. It's optional, and I don't always do it. Not that it isn't good for you, it is. So, this recipe is the basic bread recipe from Sue Becker, and she does have it published on her website together with Zoji Rushi Times for the homemade part of the Zoji Rushi machine. It has a programmable feature. So this basic yeast bread recipe is this, which is why I recommend you get this book, which will be in the resources page. All right, so let's load the Zoji Rushi. Here it is. If you decided to use the scale, you have to know what the weights are of everything. There are lots of resources online for that. So the first ingredient, like we said, is liquids, water. Let's start with water. This is my favorite measuring cup because you can see the measuring. Oh God, you can see looking down on it. So I can put it right here and look down on it and see how much water is in there. I'm going to go ahead and put it. I'm going to use warm tap water. 1.5 cups. It goes in the bucket. After that, we use oil. So here's my pantry up here. My Canada pantry with all of my different flours, keefs, picos, and medicines is up there. Right here, this is my baking pantry, and it always has been, even the whole time I've been teaching homemade health and cannabis medicine. This has been my baking pantry, and that therefore this area of my kitchen is called my baking corner. So welcome to Let's Get Baked with Michelle, coming at you live from my baking corner. What's great about the pantry setup? So down here in the baking pantry, we have things like olive oil. I actually refill this bottle all the time because it fits on my shelf. That's really why, and I like to have the oil right here. I have other oil for cooking at my stove over by the stove, if you could believe it. I like to keep everything I need for the recipe that I'm making close at hand to make doing this very simple and easy so that I will do it again and again sustainably. Because my goal is to not eat ultra-processed bread anymore, nor my family, who I have a husband, an adult son that lives with me, and a 7-year-old son that lives with me. So, because he's a minor. I also have an older son who has this entire setup at his house because I make him have it so that he can also eat this bread. All right, you grab your oil from someplace close to you. You need to have a space set up, your pantry area, your working area, your baking corner. That's your first assignment. After this, your assignment is to get a baking corner going. You're obviously going to start pulling together equipment, tools, and ingredients. And where are you going to put them? Important question for you. Where in your house? Consider a corner, some cabinets, maybe even a cart, if that's the solution for you. One of our people, Renee, she keeps her stuff on a cart. So think about it. Where is your baking area going to be placed so that you have the ability to use it? One of my homemade health students has an entire area to do her cannabis stuff in the basement. Okay, so we just measured out a 1/3 cup of oil. I'm using olive oil. I'm gonna grab my honey. I have ants here in California, so I'm gonna grab my honey from the fridge. It is actually liquid or running honey, as they say in the UK, but it's in the fridge, so it's a little cold. This recipe calls for a 1/3 cup of honey. My kids love. My young son is all about sweetness, so we do not skimp on the 1/3 cup of honey that's in here. You know, we definitely use it. My little trick for helping the honey and the oil go in and to keep things cleaner is using a cup. If I'm measuring using cups, I use the cup that I use for the oil, same cup, I put the honey in it. Why? Because as I go to do this, the honey slides out on top of the oil. And it makes, I don't know if you've ever tried to use honey in recipes, but it usually is a lot harder with a lot more waste than this because of measuring. Another way to reduce waste in measuring is to use the scale. Is to scale the honey in. And that way you don't even get a cup dirty. Like, let's say we were scaling here, we would be looking at the scale. I'll do this in another episode, in another lesson, maybe next time. But if you would like to reduce cleaning, we have to use the scale. Hey, oh good. Nice to see you too. I can't wait for you to get your apron. I'm so glad that you're in this with us. Yay. Oh my gosh, good to see everybody. Okay, so we have the water in the Zojirushi pan. We have the oil and the honey. That's great. Here's another optional ingredient. It is an egg. It kind of matters if it's large, jumbo, whatever, because the wetness of the ingredients in the egg can affect the overall hydration of your bread dough. And so if you see it looking kind of wet, or if you see your loaves coming out sunken like this, like sunken shape, happened to me many times. What is going on is that your loaf is too wet and it needs more flour. I'll show you how to check for that when we get into using the Zojirushi machine. Okay, so far we have water, oil, and honey in the machine together with one egg. The next thing we're going to throw in there is some salt. So the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of salt. Oh, I should show you this. So another little thing, all your tools. A lot of my tools I keep in this drawer. Is right here, my one drawer in the baking corner. It's not a beautiful drawer. I do have a little Maria Kondo going here with these tiny boxes. And the further back we go, the worse it gets. But here is my most used area, spoons, measuring spoons. If I'm scaling, I still might use a measuring spoon. And this is my favorite one. I'll put a link to it from Amazon. It has a tablespoon at one end and a teaspoon at the other, and the shape is not so weird that you can't kind of believe it when you get a half measure out of it. The other important things in here are like dough scrapers, you know, these kinds of things. Here's one I got from my trip to Tuscany. Measuring cups, another also measuring cup. Anyway, all this stuff down here. Here's a lighter. Let's get ready for the show. Right, the point is, it's right here. The point is, it's right to my hand as I'm making this loaf. You know what I mean? Like, here's my teaspoon measurement. Here's my salt. I didn't have to go running around my kitchen. It's all right here. Do this for yourself. Make it easy for yourself, and that will make you successful. 2 teaspoons of salt, everyone. This is a store-ground salt that I get sometimes. It's sea salt, but a really popular salt that everybody loves is real salt that is mined, and it has a lot of minerals in it. So helping you right now. All right, I don't have any lecithin. I typically use it. It comes powdered. It is a natural ingredient that some people take as a supplement. It's found in like all kinds of grains and brands and rice, wheat grains. The most common way to get it is powdered or granulated or liquid from sunflowers or soybeans. I have tried all of them. They're all fine. Actually, I haven't tried liquid, but most of my people have tried liquid. So, okay, this ingredient is so contentious. Up to you. Player's choice. This is vital wheat gluten. If you're like, I'm trying to avoid gluten, then this is not the ingredient for you. But if you are like, I want to switch to freshly milled flour and I don't care, or it's fine, this is a protein. It's made from wheat. Wheat is washed, it's ground up, washed with water. This glutinous stuff is left behind. It's very like chewing gum. It's a thing that we eat in vegetarian circles called seitan, S-E-I-T-A-N. People use that as a meat substitute. That's what it's pure gluten. That's all it is. This is pure gluten also. It's that seitan stuff, dried and powdered. What does it do for your bread? Well, it makes it have the structure to hold the air. It gives it better crumb. Makes it more squishy and less crumbly. Makes it more flexible and less breaking. So does the lecithin. They're dough conditioners, but this is more of like a real. It makes a big difference. But you don't have to use it because everybody's anti-gluten right now. So I know it's a hot take. The Zoji Rushi machine, I gotta say this is so amazing. I really want to talk about this later. Your Zoji Rushi machine recipe book, another resource you should use. The whole wheat recipe for it, which uses whole wheat flour. I gotta say, every whole wheat recipe, 4 tablespoons of vital wheat gluten. I made these and I'll show you guys a picture of it. It was so huge. My loaf rose so big it almost opened the machine. Okay? 4 tablespoons of vital wheat gluten will raise the roof on your loaves. Okay? I'll show you later in the Facebook group that I have to make for us. It's amazing. Been doing a lot of testing for you guys. Okay, sorry it's been taking so long to load the machine. So here now we have gluten, salt, an egg, honey, water, oil. What's left? The flour, the flax seeds, and the yeast. So here's our flour that we milled. Let's put that in. Okay, the last thing that we need is yeast. It's important to use instant yeast. Rapid Rise, or Instant, SAF, Safra is a good brand. Red Star is a good brand. You can get this at Costco by the pound for like $9. Once you open it, it should be refrigerated. I put right into it. Usually a whole pound will fit in this 1 quart jar. This recipe calls for 8 tablespoons of yeast. There we go. Okay, we're on our way to a loaf. Put this back in the fridge. neighbor, who's on our train too, bought her machine for herself, and all of her family were haters. They're like, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to make bread. I'm like, why are they such haters? Oh my God, that was so mean. Now they're all baking. Even the husband, everybody's excited. They're not hating anymore. All right, this bucket is going back in the machine. Like I told you, so we put it down and then we prep. See that? Do not think that your machine is all the way in your bucket if it isn't. See how we can do that? It can be like, ta-da. Okay. Bucket's in. See it? We're going to close the lid now. I got to move the light over so that you can see the top. The Zojirushi machine has 15 courses, and the 15th is homemade with 1, 2, 3 different options that are programmable. The easiest way to make this bread is not to use the homemade right away. There is one way that's even easier. It's rapid whole wheat. You ask me, so how do you grab rapid whole wheat? You go here to the pad, you press course, 15, we're going to go to 10, because that's the number, rapid whole wheat is 10, and start. All right, well, in a couple of hours, we will have a bread. There's the demo. Okay, so we started the live demo with taking the bread out of the machine. So you've seen that, although it wasn't at the end, because I'm just kind of worried. This process does take about 2.5 hours, and in that, I just didn't think that would be fun for the live, for me to be on here for 2.5 hours and then remove the finished loaf at the end of that. But here, let me show you a finished loaf of bread from the machine. Here's a giant thing of bread that is typical. This one is already sliced, and I like to freeze my bread already sliced. This is a 2.5 pound Ziploc bag from my local store. There we go. Here's a loaf. I'm trying to get it out. It's kind of tough because it's sliced. Of bread. There's the Zojirushi paddle holes in the bottom. Here's a typical loaf of bread as opposed to like the kind of rough looking one that we baked for the purpose of the demo. See, it's looking better. You know, I hate to say it looking better so much because it's not a looks contest, but look, like here's our loaf. Here's our freshly milled loaf that I just baked like in the fastest way possible. Using Sue Becker's Getting Started example. Oh my God, I can barely hold all this bread. So you can see this one is not that cute. It has little bits of issues in terms of loaves. This one is much more typical of the kind of bread that you'll make using the rapid wheat, the whole wheat, or the homemade settings, programmable setting, whichever one that you end up with. So your assignment, if you want to be in this club this month, is to decide where your baking corner is going to be. Where is your baking corner going to be? Is it going to be here, like mine, in your corner? Or is it going to be on a cart or whatever to clear out the space a little bit? I had to help my friend down the street, my neighbor, clear off just a little corner of her kitchen. We put the bread machine there. We put all the ingredients in the cabinet above. We put all the tools in the drawer below. I mean, like, wash, rinse, repeat, everyone. And she's made, I think, like 7 loaves so far. Her husband has made a loaf. It's been nuts. So there you go. This is more typical size, shape, and results from the Zojirushi machine. This is atypical, but is bread. Okay, and was like half an hour in. Or not half an hour and a half. No rises. 25 minutes of kneading, no rises. I programmed it. Which is something you can do, and we'll talk about that. All right, let me put this bread down. This is what you're going to get out of the machine later. And check my notes. I want everybody this month to focus on getting their pantry. Do you hear me? Pantry. Getting their pantry together, getting their tools together, and baking their first loaves in the machine the regular way, no changes. Here's it toasted. I don't know why I toasted bread and then put it back, but I toasted it. You know. Let's say you bake a loaf and it's really not that great. What can you do with it? French toast, bread pudding, bread crumbs, bread-based breakfast casseroles. And my favorite is my son Kari. He breaks it up and puts it into his smoothies. I think that's totally brilliant. So if you bake a loaf and it's not that great, you don't want to waste your ingredients and you still want to get the nutrition from it, there are some ideas for you. Let me check my notes here. Okay, the liquids go in first. We were loading the bread machine. Order matters. Liquids first, powders after. Warm water. There is a setting on all of it where the machine warms the ingredients to the same temperature, because you can use like cold water. Sometimes a cold egg. I used a cold egg. Your Zojirushi machine comes with this book in English and French, and one of these. This is a recipe book over here, and this is like an owner's manual. The owner's manual includes this really useful part at the beginning, which talks about every course that is in the machine and how it works. Here's the course list. All right, let's talk about it for a second. So the Zojirushi machine course list that comes with helps you understand the baking process a little bit better according to the machine, which is useful for you to know if you're going to program it and make it do your bidding, like a good robot should. Okay, so if you understand the white course, for example, it says that the rest time, which is the time that you can set for the machine to warm up slightly and to make all of the ingredients inside a nice temperature. Let's say you have a cold house, or you live somewhere where winters are very strong and it's hard to raise bread in your house because it's too cold. Bread loves warmth. So it's nice in the machine. It's moist and it's warm and it can regulate, and you can get much better results because everything starts at the same temperature, or it is proofing in there to warm humid area. It says that the timer, you can be used with a timer, and it does have press control. You can use a timer with the Zojirushi machine, which is so excellent for making breads like just in time for dinner when you arrive home. You can preload the machine, set the timer to have it bake in X many hours, or my favorite, loading it up at night and then having it make bread first thing in the morning before I wake up, and I wake up at like around 7, and the bread is ready at like 7:15. Perfect. You'll wake up to this amazing smell in your house. Your kids will be so hungry. It'll be amazing. Okay, but crust control. Oh my gosh. So for some of the courses, you can do crust control. It's light, medium, and dark, and you get to choose. It will extend the time of the bake for it to be darker, but most people like that. And if you go ahead and get the Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus, it does the best at making the crust good on your bread because it has upper and lower heating. All right, one sec, you guys. I do have a rye loaf going in my oven. This is a little bit of a rye sourdough loaf that I made, and I just needed to grab it out of the oven really fast. As a matter of fact, let's just do the full thing. Okay, this is the pan that I very much recommend to you guys, the 1 pound loaf pan from USA Pan. It's slightly different from the one that I showed you before. See the end piece right there is folded, it's seamless inside. This one is slightly different, and they're fine, but this one performs even better than this one, shockingly. I don't know how, but they're just slightly different. They come in 2 packs. I will put this in the resources. This one is not just my favorite, it's everybody's favorite. USA Pan. Totally not. Did you see that? It came out so easily, and it's beautiful. And if you know anything about rye is dense as heck. So, rye sourdough loaf, everyone, making an appearance. All right, let's let that cool. All right, let's get back to the Zojirushi machine. So sorry for that short little break, but you need to understand the resting period, the cycles of the machine. All the machine can do is measure time, heat up, and the paddles can move and stop. That's literally all the machine can do. So anything that's happening in these courses is like heating up, paddles moving or not moving, machine heating up or not heating up. That's all that's happening. And I feel like this is such a useful way to learn baking in general. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, steps that you can control when you program your machine. Resting, bringing everything to the same temperature. Kneading, which is to say mixing. You will save your hands. You will save yourself. Mixing and kneading are tasks that sometimes can be difficult. The older you get, the more your joints hurt. I have a lot of people who are like, my mom can't knead the bread because her hands hurt. Well, let the machine do it for you. After kneading, we have resting and rising. So we allow the dough to rest, to rise. The machine paddles do the kneading, and they also do the punching down. If you've ever heard of like, you need to let your bread rise, you need to punch it down. The paddles turn, the bread deflates, and then rises again. 2 rises, actually 2 punch downs and 3 rises for the white bread recipe, finally a bake. So this tells you the baking is the dark, it tells you how long it's rising, yada yada, and how long the entire time is. 325 or 254 for lighter crust, 325 for darker crust for the time required, and the keep warm. Your machine has the ability to keep the loaf warm in the machine for up to an hour. For most of the courses, it's automatic. For the homemade, you have to set it. It's best to take the bread out of the machine right away because it's a warm environment and it's moist. And the moisture tends to make the bread less crusty, and people don't like it as much. So getting it out immediately is the best way, but it does have this keep warm, which keeps it hotter and crispier and overcomes that moisture problem for up to an hour. Ta-da! Let's learn about the Zojirushi machine. And learning about that will make you a better baker because now you understand the process a little bit better. All right, so we clicked the pan in, we walked through the control panel. We chose whole wheat, rapid, because it was fast. It does not have crust control for that. We pressed the start button, very difficult moment. And then I explained the cycles. Phew, okay, we're doing good according to my notes. Let me just say that at this juncture with the bread machine, I will guarantee have a loaf of bread in a couple hours, like 2.5 hours. Okay? Like I do not have to do anything further for this bread to occur. And this is why I am so much a proponent of the magical machine approach to breaking the bread. Now for Kayona's like I love this. It requires you didn't need any more skill. You know what I mean? You just loaded the machine and you can basically like walk away now. Not really, because if you probably will need to check the machine. You have to check the machine. If you ask me about 5 minutes when it's asking you to do an add-in, it will start beeping, beep, 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 beep. And what it's saying is like, hey, did you want to add raisins or cinnamon or chocolate chips to your bread? Now's the time. You just open the lid and close it again, and it will stop the beeping, and the beeping stops in like a minute. But that's a great time in the process to check visually your dough. What are you looking for? If you see it wet, batter-like, smearing underneath the paddles, or not even, like you can't see the paddles at all, it just looks like a liquid, you have too wet of a dough. That will lead to your bread being like damp, like dense, wet, and sunken, not rise. What's the solution? If you catch it, you can add flour. You add flour until you see the dough like cleaning the sides of the pan, making a ball, and being like smooth and shiny kind of. Let's say you look in there, let's do too dry. How do you know if your bread dough is too dry if you happen to look in there and check it out? You might see like it looks like a bunch of little pebbles instead of it being one big cohesive ball. Bunch of little pebbles, add water or milk, depending on what recipe you're doing. Add a liquid, add water. Maybe a tablespoon at a time. Maybe like as much as a quarter cup at a time. You shouldn't need to add so much water, but you might have made some kind of error in your measuring and not have enough water, or your flour might be really thirsty. A sort of like less drastic look for dry is when the dough looks very shaggy, not smooth, shaggy. And when you touch it, it doesn't stick to your finger at all. So you can open this up and touch it as much as you want, by the way, it's safe. If you check your dough at least, maybe when that add-in button, feature goes off, starts beeping at you, you can have a visual check that will vastly improve the outcome of your dough, of your bread. Because if you catch it now and you add flour to the too wet dough, you will avoid the sunken thing. If you add water to the too dry dough, you will avoid the crumbly. You'll just get a crumbly mess of non-cohesive bread. if you do not add enough water. Okay? Let's check the chat for a second. What am I even doing? It's 1:05. Can't believe it. Time flies. Hi, ladies. My sunken bread is still delicious. I'm so proud of you, Renee. I want to try rye at some point. Oh, okay, yes. French bread recipe, perfect. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is a great time to talk about, again, like the way that it's supposed to work at the end of this today. So at the end of today, right now, when I finally finish this lesson, yeah, this is the meeting where we're on live Zoom. This is going to live on YouTube. You can watch it as much as you want. And that'll be great. And then at the end of the month, we will have a time to talk live together in person. If you bought an apron, I will send you the Zoom link, and we'll do it all year long. So if you want to be in a baking community that is about it all year long, this is a good one. And if you're here and you're also interested in sourdough, I mean, I'm not teaching sourdough this year, very intentionally, but you saw me refer to my teacher, Dr. Vanessa Kimball's sourdough baking books, the Sourdough School in the UK. I am currently in her diploma class. I will be baking every single week some kind of sourdough experiment. This week, though, my first week with her, guess what it's about? Great minds think alike. It's about getting set up. It's about getting started. It's about getting resourced, getting the tools, and bringing it all together so that you can do the thing. Oh, I guess it's been 20 minutes. That's the sound of your bread machine starting the next cycle. Okay, I'm going to try to show you what this looks like because it's awesome. But the Sojigrishi machine needs to be tricked. There's a little thing right here where unless it's pressed down, it won't go. There you go. I could watch this forever. So those are the two paddles mixing. If you ever open your machine or you look through the window and you don't see the two, like evidence of the two paddles mixing like that, what could be wrong? You could be missing a paddle. You forgot to put them in. It could be that the machine is popped up a little bit and not properly seated. The bucket is not properly seated in the machine, and that can cause the paddle not to be able to turn. Paddles missing, bucket not seated. I don't know what else could possibly be causing them to not work, but then maybe they're not all the way down or they accidentally came off into the dough. Things like that. So it's nice to keep an eye on it, and I have to admit, I'm kind of obsessed. It's amazing how it's going to go from this to a loaf of bread, and I really don't have to look at it any further if I don't want to. See how all of that stuff is on the sides? It's so tempting to push it down, but I promise you, even if you don't, it will take care of itself. Alex, if you're still alive in the chat, please testify. I promise it will still work, even if you don't deal with, you don't push those down any further. All right, I got this out because I wanted to share something now that the machine is going and mixing. I wanted to share for Kyona's sake, someone else who's in the group, how to mix by hand. I'm not going to physically do it, but if you want to do this journey without the bread machine, which is something that she said, I am that's great. Let's talk about making bread by hand. This is the one tool that I think is worth investing in. And then, of course, you need a bowl. You'll need to do all the ingredients, and you'll need to do this. And then you'll need to rest it, come back, stir some more, rest it, maybe do some hand stretch and folds. And then it needs to go with two of these so that you can make them. This recipe, the one I'm teaching you right now, the one that's on my my refrigerator here, and is the book in the book, Basic Yeast Bread by Sue Becker, Homegrown Flour Essentials, or the Essential Homegrown Flour book. It's not really. It's meant to be a loaf bread. It's meant to be tinned. This is a tinned recipe. Wow, that shit is loud. And that means that it's not going to raise like a bowl. You can't just pour it onto a thing in the open oven. So, anyways, I just wanted to show the best way to make bread by hand is with this whisking tool, nice big bowl, and plenty of time. Then you will definitely still need, if you're doing this recipe by hand, you will still need a pan to bake it in, and you should bake it in a 350-degree oven for 20 to 30 minutes until the internal temperature is 195 to 205. I would recommend a temperature. I love taking my food's temperature to help me know. If you are not baking by hand and you're using the zojirushi, guess what? You don't have to think about any of that stuff at all. Ta-da! Okay. Final tips and encouragement. While that's doing its thing, I showed you a finished loaf. Storage is really important. And to be honest, storage is annoying for me. I'm not perfect at it yet. I started with a bread box that was made out of plastic, which I really liked, but it didn't really work. Now I'm using the sort of bags right now. So I'm really hoping that my community and you guys, we can figure out better storage. But let me just say, if you eat a lot of bread quickly, like you have a big family and you're just like barely keeping up with it, you're happy you're here because this bread machine, you can run it every day. You can run it 3 times a day and still do other stuff and make so much bread and freeze it and not worry. It is annoying that it can only make 1 loaf of bread at a time, but it's a hands-off way to make a loaf of bread at a time. If you see my corner over there, I also have this incarcerate machine. That's a mixer. And in that mixer, I can make multiple batches at once, like 4 batches, so that I can make like 8 loaves of bread. That's handy, and I like it. We can talk about that later, but right now I'm talking about bread machine, the zojirushi, 1 loaf at a time, the glory of it, the wonder of it, how it can make you successful at being able to tell people that you're a baker. Like, how many times have you heard, like right now baking is this weird popular thing, especially sourdough, where it's almost cultish, and it's like people are talking about baking a lot. And there's always this reaction like, oh, I could never be a baker. Oh my God, it's so complicated. Oh, I don't have the patience. I don't have the skill. It's probably true. It takes skill. The way that I'm teaching you now is probably the lowest skill method to learn baking in the world. And isn't that great that you could completely be a straight up good baker, replacing all your family's bread with this healthy choice and not need to be some kind of crazy expert. I think that's brilliant and wonderful. And every kitchen should come with a bread machine like this. But I guess, dreams. Okay, I saw the chat move. Hey, Renee. Hi, Alex. Hi, Susie. Oh my gosh, it's great to see everybody. Alex never thought she would be baking bread like this. Yes, I have been thinking about the beeswax bags. So thank you for saying that, Alex. Back to the storage. Freezer bags, sliced. I think I showed you that loaf that was sliced and frozen. Speaking of Alex, one of the reasons why she was so attracted to trying the bread was because of her making the best of her pre-diabetic condition and bringing bread back into her life. We need to talk to Alex more in depth about this, but she's had incredible success, including bread back in her life and in the life of her child and her husband. And even in a pre-diabetic condition, it has done nothing but great things for her, her blood sugar levels as she's monitoring them. And I just find that to be amazing. The storage of the bread, one thing that is interesting is if you slice the bread and freeze the bread in your freezer, presumably in a freezer-safe container or a freezer bag, and take it out and eat it slice by slice, this actually is good for somebody in a pre-diabetic challenge because it helps create what's called resistant starch in the bread. The bread, as it's frozen and then comes back, the starch in it becomes even more resistant to raising your blood sugar. Alex probably has a lot to say about this. We should talk to her more. Thank you in the chat, Alex. Yes, I'm so proud of her and her incredible health gains through this. So storage of the bread, if you choose to slice it and freeze it, I would slice it first. It's much easier that way than not. Pulling out one frozen slice is way easier than, unless you want to pull out a whole frozen loaf and then you eat the whole loaf, okay? Beeswax bags, bread boxes, let's explore community. I need help. I'm not sure what to do. Honestly, our bread just stays out there. Look at it. It just stays out there all the time. We just eat it or we freeze it. I like freezing. Okay, you can do this. See, we just made healthy food. It really didn't take long. Honestly, if I wasn't talking so much, I could have done it in, Alex and I have timed ourselves. We are it can be less than 10 minutes. Just the milling and the putting together of the ingredients into the bucket and load the bucket in the machine and press the quartz button and press start. Walk away. Let's go have a sesh. Call me. Call your friend. Get something else done. I just love it so much. So grab your wheat berries and all of that, and let's get a machine. When I get the Facebook thing open, I can't wait to see your first loaves. All right. So, and I also can't wait to see your baking corners. This is really important. It's all about space. It's all about creating space in your life, creating space in your kitchen, creating space in your schedule to become a baker. And not only to become a baker, but to become a kick-ass baker who's going to go out there and be like, oh yeah, I'm a baker. Oh yeah, you're a baker? Oh, you bake sourdough? Oh, I bake with freshly milled flour. Yeah, I'm not eating any of that ultra-processed crap anymore from the store. Yes! All right, everyone. That was the live demo. Like an hour and 16 minutes in, that was the live demo. Seriously amazing. Okay, so there is a handout for the live demo down below. I created notes for myself to do this, and I created a handout for you. I know that I sort of like crisscrossed over it a lot because here we're going to go over the transform your kitchen, create a space, make a baking corner, start baking bread, use these easy, simple machines that take no thought practically, and change the world. Baking as a lifestyle medicine, I talked about it a little bit earlier. It's a big deal. It really is transformative. Changing your health and changing the health of your family through eating, through letting food be your medicine is transformative. Putting on the apron and becoming an actual baker and not being one of these people that's like, oh, I don't know how to bake. Oh, I could never. Oh, I hate that. I could never. Don't say I could never. I hate I could never. You could. You're just not. You don't want to. It's fine. You don't have to. But yeah, once you decide to be a baker, the transformation is so valuable. It's so valuable. Okay, I'm here to guide you on a journey that will transform your kitchen, your health, your home, your community. Because the joy and the power of baking can bring you in contact with so many more people than you imagine. So we need to turn and we need to look at this part of my house now, because I set up a couple of things for you guys to look at. Okay, the first one is here. So I have to make a resource guide for you, but let's finally talk grades. Preparing your space is so important, the baking space, and preparing yourself for the work is important. Don't overthink or make it too complicated. I'm going to make this resources thing, but you guys have already seen my blog post on CannabisCoaching.com that outlines how to get started. That has worked for several people. I'm like so happy, The core ingredients that you need to stock your pantry with, the very first one that I want to talk about is the grains, the wheats. Okay, so here are a few brands that I like. And one other way to do this that doesn't have to do with grains, that doesn't have to do with milling your own grains. I am here to teach you about milling with your own grains, but Dr. Kimball has impressed upon me that another way you can do this is by buying already milled flour. But from where? You can achieve diversity by buying flours, a couple of different kinds, but what kinds and where? So if you pick up a couple bags of like hard wheat flour, hard bread, do you even know? Nobody even really knows. There are some places where you can know. So for example, Janie's Mill, and this is not bread flour, but this is one of the first people that I experienced. They sell flour, they sell grains. They're a stone grinding mill out of Illinois, and they also farm their own grains. So Janie's Mill, this is rye. Dark rye means whole wheat. It means whole grain. Light rye means sifted. Anyway. So Janie's Mill, you can buy grains from them. You can buy flour from them. They have a really excellent artisan bread blend that is really, really good. It's made of two kinds of artisan heritage flours, and they're organic. And their farm is regenerative. So getting to know your miller and getting to know your farmer, why they do this. Janie's Mill is named after their daughter that died. They're in the business. It's a family business. They own the farms that they grow the wheat on, and they own the mill. and they mostly mill to supply their community, the restaurants and bakeries in their community, but you can order from them online. Okay, so that's one resource that's really good. Another one that I don't have an example bag from is Sunrise flour. So if you only want to buy flour and you don't want to mill, Janie's Mill, Sunrise flour, they just like Janie's Mill, sell wheat berries as well as flours. Their bread blend is a blend of 2 wheats also. So diversity too, right off the bat, you win. Your gut's like, thank you so much. Oh my God, we get another kind of diversity in there. Yay. Another company that I just bought from is called Barton Springs Mill. They're in Texas. Their grains come from all over America. I was experimenting with grains that they were selling that were grown in Oklahoma, but the mill sells whole grains as well as milled grains from Texas. Barton Springs Mill, Janie's Mill, Sunrise. That's what we've got so far. Palouse brand right here is a brand that you can get on Amazon. Amazon is super useful. I've ordered all kinds of, this is red spring wheat from them. Terrific stuff. One sec. Another brand that has been good to me is that you can get on Amazon is this one. And I think Alex buys a lot from them now, or did in the past. Grand Teton Ancient Grains. So Grand Teton Ancient Grains sells millet, spelt, wheat, emmer, einkorn. I don't know as much about them, although I should. And then Palouse brand, which is West America, the Palouse area, sells on Amazon as well. So these two, easy to find on Amazon. Janie's, Barton Springs Mill, and Sunrise, those are all online people. And so places where you can get whole grains. To be honest, I also was able to get whole grains before at Whole Foods. Sometimes you can get them at a cooperative store near you in bulk. So look around. You're looking for hard wheat. That is the number one grain you need. Just switching to only hard wheat, even if it's just one kind of wheat, will make a huge difference in your health because of the added fiber and because of the lack of toxins and the lack of chemicals added or treated to the flour that is in the bread that we're mostly eating now. So not only will you win by gaining the nutrition of freshly milled flour, fiber, the 44 out of 49 nutrients that we need to survive in the wheat, by freshly milling, you get all of that fresher. You will also avoid all the pitfalls of the ultra-processed food and bread that we eat in America. Everyone says oh, I can eat the bread in Italy. Yeah, it's not American. It doesn't have the rules applied to it, the chemicals added to it that we have here. Okay, I know that I need to make that resource guide more and more. So this is where you can get grains. Breadtopia is another one that I don't have any bag from them, but they're a great place to buy all kinds of bread making supplies. They are the number one. They are the partner distributor for the Mock Mill. If you're looking for a grain mill, the Mock Mill is distributed by the Breadtopia company as well. They have tons of grains. One grain that they have there that I've never seen anywhere else is a sprouted grain that has already been sprouted and then dried again. I don't know the process of sprouting. If you don't know, it's wet the grains, let them sprout, dry the grains, then usually you grind them up and use them for something. Sprouted bread, for example. Breadtopia is the only people that I know of that sell dried, so millable sprouted grains, pre-sprouted. Wow, that's convenient. Okay, you've prepared your space. We are stocking our pantry now. We have talked about whole wheat berries, getting them, buying them. Where to? Get hard red or hard white. It's I would get hard red, but maybe hard red wheat is nuttier, more flavorful, and a little bit darker in color. Hard white wheat is a little bit blander, which this flavor can be, people can like that better. It's a little bit lighter in color. That's it's not a big difference. I would get both. Most people mix. Okay, for more reasons than one. One of the reasons is because of diversity. Like if you add hard red and hard white wheat, that counts as two. That's two different things in your gut that feed different microbes. And you want diversity and to increase the number of microbes that you can host, in the party that is your guts. All right, pantry staples. You will also need oil if you're going to make the recipe that I've described, the basic yeast bread recipe. Oh my God, that is so annoying. So there we go. So my cooling rack was leaning against my machine and making that terrible sound that we'll all be hearing on this recording forever. Sorry. Oil, honey, if you want to use it, I recommend raw honey. Liquid honey is easier to work with than the really thick raw honey. And if you use really thick raw honey, it is sticky and won't slide out of things the way that did when I showed it to you. So you should weigh it. You don't have to use honey. You don't have to use oil. The basic ingredients of bread are the flour. So you'll need the grains, the water, salt, and yeast. That is the 4 things you need to make bread, and that's it. Anything beyond that is optional, but that's how I make my bread. What I showed you has been made with all the optional ingredients. What are they? They're lecithin, eggs, vital wheat gluten, and the flax seeds and the chia seeds and the hemp seeds, if you want to include those as well. Okay, yeast. I already talked about this, but I think you should use instant yeast as opposed to active dry yeast. What is the difference? If you accidentally buy active dry yeast instead of instant yeast, you have to bloom it first, which is a process where you just put in a little bit of water with a little bit of sugar or honey or whatever sweetener. Basically, you're just rehydrating it, bringing it back to life, back to reality. And then you're feeding it a little bit of sugar so that it has something to eat. And it will be like, yay, I'm excited. Let's go make some bread. Woo! So you need to bloom it. Put it in water, put a little bit of sugar with it. The machine is like use instant. Just use instant. My neighbor accidentally got active dry. She got a pound, so now we're working through that. Just so you know. And I would invest in a good brand. If all you have near you are the packets, that's great. But depending on how much baking you're going to do, if you're trying to really replace like ultra processed foods in your breads in your life, then you'll probably want more yeast. But if you're not going to bake a whole lot, there are little jars that are available at the grocery stores here in America of rapid rise yeast. That's a good one. There are packets that are available that are okay. That's good. A good way to get started. I would go with those as opposed to waiting and being like, I couldn't find the 1 pound size. Don't worry about it. Get whatever's around you. Food security. Wow. What an issue. I just want to talk about this at least a little bit. Like knowing how to do this and knowing how to make your own bread is incredible. The crap that we're eating is so unnourishing and it doesn't do its job. And I really hate that about it. Like this bread, what struck me when I started eating it in earnest for health and for healing is that I was eating like 2 slices a day, which is so easy to do. Okay, do you hear that sound? Let's have a look at our bread. Sorry, I totally interrupted what I was saying, but let's have a look. This is the sound of the ad. We open it and we have a look. Oh, a tiny bit wet. Tiny, tiny bit. I'm going to add a little bit of flour. How am I going to add flour since I don't have any milled? Good question. I'll tell you. I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use this rye flour. It's good to have some bagged flour. It's handy, in case you don't want to mill again. I'm going to grab a little bit of this, scoop up a tiny bit, throw it in here, and hopefully that will help. Just adding some rye. It'll feed my rye microbes. They'll be happy. All right. Sorry that was interrupted, but that little dough check right there, that will probably make my bread just like as opposed to sunken or too dry and crumbly. So by learning to bake with whole grains, it gives you a lot of freedom. What kind of freedom am I talking about? Well, I was trying to start to explain the freedom I felt from hunger. The first day that I really felt it, like I ate a loaf, a loaf. I ate a slice of bread with breakfast, and then I ate a BLT, like one slice cut in half to make a little BLT for lunch. And after that, I went to the mall. And I love eating, and I'm usually high. And, munchies are like my life. And I enjoy the munchies because they make my food taste amazing. So we went to the mall after I'd had this one slice of bread for breakfast and this one slice of bread for lunch. And I thought for sure I would be attracted to some food at the mall and that we would eat there. Because the Cinnabon is at the mall. Not that I love it, but it's blowing cinnamon smell at you. There's nothing you can do. You have to, And you guys, I was walking through the mall, passing by all of my favorite restaurants and stores, and I didn't care. Like, I wasn't trying to not care. I fully expected to be hungry. And I fully expected to be sucked in and pay for some cheap food at the mall. Or maybe not so cheap. We at my mall have a very expensive restaurant, Ding Tang Fung. What's it called, right, Alex? And it's not cheap at all. And I will totally eat there. What am I trying to get at? Freedom. The freedom that I experienced that day really moved me. I was not hungry. I was free from my cravings. Does that explain it? I felt free from my cravings. I felt like I didn't have to buy any of these drinks that I like to buy at the mall. I didn't have to eat any of these snacks or meals. We went home. After that, my husband was also shocked. Like, you don't want to stay for dinner? I'm like, no, I'm actually really fine. Like, I'm not even hungry. And we went home and like a few hours later made dinner. How does this translate, the freedom? I not only enjoyed the freedom of not feeling the hunger and the temptation and the tantalization that I normally feel, but I also felt freedom from like eating such crap. Don't you feel like, oh, somebody opens a bag of Doritos near you and you're just like, oh, I'm going to eat that crap because I want it because it's so addictive and it's full of stuff that I love eating because I've been eating it all my life or whatever. This bread really makes a change for me. It makes a change for most people who try it, that it's so much easier to resist all of the things that have been, that we've become addicted to in our diet. I don't hate Doritos, okay, you guys? I like Doritos, but I don't think they're good for me, and I don't think you think that they're good for you either. And sometimes it's a matter of, like, do I feel strong enough to get out of it or not? To be honest, the freedom is a big deal. Hi, Hillary. I'm on a live. Welcome. Enjoy. I just wanted to share about the grains. I wanted to share about the freedom. Equipping your kitchen. You need the grain mill. You need the grains. You need these ingredients that I'm talking about. You don't necessarily need a bread machine, but I don't know why you're here if you're not trying to use a bread machine, except for Kayana. The grain mill is important. Like I said, there are two kinds of mills: impact mills and stone mills. Stone mills use two stones that rotate. One rotates and the other one is staying still, and it mills the flour. And you saw mine; it just shoots the flour right out of the little spot. They all work like that. There's Nutramil, Mock Mill, Como. Those are the top three brands that I know about that make stone ground mills. The Impact Mill business has Nutramil. They make the Impact that literally is called the Impact. My son has it. And they make the Wonder Mill company is its own company, right, Alex? The Wonder Mill is another Impact Mill that is like world famous. Everybody likes it. It's very popular. It makes very fine flour. Okay, bread machines, the Zoji Rushi, let's talk about it. I love it. This is the Virtuoso Plus. It has the two heatings. It has the strongest motor of any of the Zoji Rushis ever made, and all of those courses and stuff. What I like about the Zoji Rushi company is that they have been making these bread machines for like almost 100, I feel like 100 years, like 50 years, okay? So when you look at eBay and the aftermarket, you can find used machines for so cheap because people don't do it. How many people do you know are like, oh, I have a bread machine and I don't use it? Like so many people, right? Sometimes you might even get somebody to give you their bread machine because they feel so guilty that they're not using it, right? Anyway, or whatever. They're not using it. It takes up a lot of space. Not everybody has room in their lives for the bread machine. So you can find one at a discount. They are a huge thrift store find. There's been models for years and years and years. Some of them are very old, okay? They make one that makes a 1 pound loaf, 2 models usually that make a 1 pound loaf. Only one of those has a programmable feature, the Maestro. All of the double models, all of the 2 pound loaf models with double paddles are programmable. Boop, boop, boop. I love smoking before eating. Which grain should I buy here in Canada? I don't know. You should definitely check out Canada. Direct from farmer is a wonderful idea. Okay, I'm just looking at this chat. It's so hard to have a lot of room for machines. I know what you mean. I think my kitchen is very small as well, but people argue with me. But Alex, you've been in my kitchen for real. It's tiny. La, 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 la. Bread machine, empowerment through tools. Listen, I love this. I'm about it. I think kitchen tools, the right tool for the job, it changes everything for me, and I love it. If I didn't have the right tool for the job, it makes the job hard, unfun. I won't do it. It causes friction for me. And what we want to create is a smooth system for yourself. You want to create something that doesn't have any friction. You want this to be easy for you, right? So I really I'm down for the machines. It's worth it for me. Really, a lot. It makes it possible for anyone, no matter how busy, to create wholesome, nutritious foods and then go out and have a smoke. Okay, yeast is your friend. I know sourdough is everything right now, and I know I baked a whole sourdough loaf, in the middle of teaching you guys yeast bread, but literally we eat the most yeast bread. We eat it the most. Sourdough is wonderful, but sourdough is also sour. My youngest child is not into it. He's not a fan. His eating of the bread goes down when it's all sourdough. And I want his eating of the bread to be multiple slices a day. Okay? So I do what I can, lots of honey, for example, because I want him to like the bread and I want him to eat the bread. Sourdough is complicated, wonderful. It has so many benefits. I can't wait to tell you everything I can about my own class with Dr. Kimball for the next 2 years, guys. I'm going to be in that diploma class for 2 years. But we are starting with yeast breads because yeast breads are the bulk majority of our food eating, and replacing your sandwich bread is the biggest move, in my opinion, for getting the most bang for your buck out of fiber maxing, getting the most nutrition into you, and getting the most diversity of plants into you. I'm going to add to the resources page this movie that I watched. I can't wait to make this resources page. In a way, I want this to be over so that I can go work on it. But I'm going to put my journey. The reason why we're starting with yeasted bread is not only because I think it's a lot of bang for your buck. Everybody likes it. This is how you make cinnamon rolls and stuff. I mean, you can make sourdough everything. Leavening is leavening. You know what leaveners are? We've got sourdough, we've got yeast, we've got powder, baking powder, and baking soda. Those are all leaveners. They all raise breads, baked goods. They work different ways. The sourdough is more nutritious in a certain way because it allows you to long ferment and develops the food in a different way than the yeast, which is a faster fermentation and doesn't allow as much change. But the power of the whole grain underneath the leavener is what we're talking about today, much more than anything. So when everybody gets on your face about sourdough versus yeast bread, which is not even a debate, nobody cares. Nobody cares. But sourdough is a fermented process that has a lot of wonderful qualities, of course, but it matters what you ferment. If you ferment no nutrition cardboard, there's nothing in there for you. It doesn't add anything to what's not there. If you ferment something wholesome, nutritious, full of fiber, vitamins, minerals, everything, enzymes, well, that's going to make a big difference, isn't it? Okay. Enough about sourdough. We're not doing it this year, but I'm doing it, and I don't mind talking about it, but I'm not going to teach it for at least 2 years probably because I'm in the diploma class now. Maybe next year at the soonest. All right. Baking while you sleep. The science of kneading. Yeast is your friend. The science of kneading. Yeast is your friend, but what can go wrong with yeast is you can make your things too hot. It's not easy with the bread machine, but don't put in a temperature of water that is too hot. Like just aim for like a little bit as warm as your wrist. You know what I mean? And then you should be fine, because it doesn't, if it's too warm, it dies. Example, when you bake it. When you bake it, it dies. So it's pretty hot in there. Kneading develops the gluten. Gluten is an interesting thing that doesn't exist until you add flour to water. When you grind up the wheat berries and then add water, there was no gluten in the wheat as a berry. There is no gluten in the flour when you grind it. Gluten appears for the very first time when you add water to flour. That is literally the creation of the gluten. Water plus flour. Stirring it up develops the gluten. Kneading develops it further, stretches it out, makes it into a network, makes it possible for it to catch the gas that the yeast is farting, is creating in the fermentation process, hold it in a bubble, and that's what creates the crumb of your bread. All these little holes in the bread, the crumb is the bubbles that were held in place by the gluten. All wheat has gluten. If you don't make gluten bread, if you make gluten-free bread, you are not using gluten for that network. You are using something else. I don't know what those things are because I'm not a gluten-free bread maker, but I do have one book about it called Wild Bread by Mary Jane Butters. Couldn't recommend it more. It's amazing. All right, the last thing that's great about yeast breads and modern tools like the bread machine is that you can time this baby to make bread while you sleep, like I mentioned before, or pre-dinner, or whenever it's convenient for you. All right, being a baker and an advocate is important to me. That's why I'm doing this all year long, is to practice teaching and learning in public. Thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate you. Baking is more than a task. It is a lifestyle that is a medicine to you and to your community. Why? Not just because you eat it and you get healed physically, not just because you give it to your neighbor and they, experience help with their prediabetes, help with their cholesterol numbers, help with their eczema, help with their gut issues, but because you're also connecting to the millers and the farmers. I saw something in the chat about everyone's farm to table, farm to kitchen. It's real. It's really important. Kids don't know where food comes from these days. It comes from the store. That's not true. We need to connect to the earth, to the soil that grows the grains and the millers, the farmers that grow the grains, the millers that mill it for us, and us, the bakers. We are a circle. And then the eaters, and the circle that heals the soil, the plants, the people, the community, our spirits. This is not small. It is not a small part of baking as a lifestyle medicine, because what heals us is not just the nutrients in the bread, but the spirit and the connection that we can have with our food and with each other when we bake together and when we know where all of our food comes from, right? That's why this is an advocacy as well. That's why Rep Your State of Mind is the perfect place for it. Food sovereignty and safety is another thing. Once you do this, nobody can take this away from you. Okay, I did this in a hotel room in Las Vegas with instead of my grain mill, my husband was like, don't take that thing. That's expensive and might break. Why don't you take something cheap that we can replace? I brought a coffee grinder to Las Vegas, you guys. Did I have food sovereignty in Las Vegas? Yeah, because eating 3 slices of this bread makes me only need 1 or 2 meals a day at the most. Crazy, right? The freedom and the satiety that I was able to experience in Vegas, eating crazily homemade, home milled in a hotel room bread with a budget choice. A budget choice for your grain mill is a coffee grinder. I recommend the Cuisinart one. It's about $80 from Target. It grinds fine enough on the espresso to make a good flour. And sovereignty to me means the freedom to not have to bow to somebody else to get what I need in life. So if I need to pay outrageous, Las Vegas prices for food that isn't even nourishing me, and I can opt out of that because I brought a bread machine and I'm eating this bread, that's amazing. Then the other way that sovereignty means something to me is that it's a skill thing. Like, listen, if I know that if I can get my hands on some wheat grains and water and salt and yeast, and I have a way to grind the grains, maybe a food grinder, any kind of blender, any kind of food processor, I mean, we'll do for like 1 or 2 loaves, I can make bread. And if I can make bread, I can survive. So once you put your hand to this and your mind to this, you have given yourself a survival tool forever. And I got into this because I'm a prepper, which is like a survival kind of way of living. And so that means a lot to me when it comes to food sovereignty. You're contributing to a healthier food economy by making these choices as well. Join the movement. You're now part of this movement, a growing community that we're trying to grow here of home bakers who are rediscovering these foundational skills. Sharing, making, baking, taking, and sharing with others is the way that we grow. Sharing your knowledge, sharing your bread, and just sharing your beautiful, sunny, healthy demeanor, radiance. You know, that improves the world. It puts out a vibe. And I think it's important. So perfection is not your goal here, people. Getting started is your goal. Creating space for your bread making life is your goal this month. And getting out a first few loaves, get to know your machine. I can't wait to start this Facebook group and have everybody in there comparing their loaves, comparing their bakes, asking their questions, getting support, finding out how we're going to store our bread. Is our beeswax bags the way? You know, let's find out together, everyone. I need a community for this because I'm baking like every day. So much bread. Look at this. What a mess. But look at that. Look at all of this bread. Look at so much. And we're eating so much bread every day. So thank you for coming along with me on the journey. Like I said, it is going to be here live. You can just join me live here on YouTube every month on the first Friday of the month. But if you want to be in Let's Get Baked with Michelle officially, you need to get an apron from everystateofmind.com, the Love Loaf Apron. And when you do go get the apron, you will be given some links to the Zoom class or session that we'll be having at the end of the month. And you'll get into the Facebook group, like I just mentioned that I want to be in now. Okay, today I'm going to work on this resource page for you. I'm almost about to end this live. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's any questions, gosh, you're going to have to let me know. Everybody here currently is somebody who I feel like knows where to find me. So I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. This chat was off the kizay. It was off the chain. It's small. Okay, my kitchen is small. Blah, blah, blah. Let me just check. Marie Eve, size, A lot of bread. Cinnamon rolls. Oh, good. Cinnamon rolls are the jam. Oh my God, Marie Eve found a bread machine for under 50 US. Oh, I love that. All right. This is the end. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. I hope to see you in the next session at the end of the month. More details on that if you buy the apron. I might go live and talk about this more. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and for joining me for Let's Get Started. Let's Get Baked with Michelle. Bye, everyone. Thanks again.